Negotiations continue between Hamas and Israel.
We are very relieved. We feel like a ton of brick has been lifted over our hearts.
Regarding those held hostage, dreamers face an uncertain future.
Like I said, I'm tired of feeling anxious and fearful, so I'm not afraid anymore.
From the DACA program, our DC Bureau has more. And one director experiments with his biggest film.
I mean, we shot 2.5 million feet of footage.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Good morning, South Florida. I'm Julian Davis.
I'm Samantha Gutierrez. Today is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023.
Live from the Lee Caplin School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Caplin News.
Back together, released hostages now reunited with their families.
Families relieved after loved ones captured by Hamas were released over the past 4 days.
But as CNN's Jen Sullivan reports, more than 160 people still remain hostage while negotiations for their release continue.
9-year-old Ohad Munder running to his father, feeling his firm embrace. A hug they've waited 49 days for. Ohad, his mother and grandmother were among the 69 hostages released by Hamas over the past 4 days. One of the youngest, Abigail Eden, who turned 4 while being held hostage. Seen here smiling, surrounded by her grandparents, aunt and uncle. Her parents were murdered by Hamas. For these families, reunions are a moment of relief they've waited weeks for. Like Dalia Mizrahi, whose cousin and children are seen being released in this video.
We are very relieved. We feel like a ton of brick has been lifted over our hearts.
But for many families, the desperation continues. More than 160 hostages remain captive by Hamas.
It's not done. We can't celebrate.
An agreement has been reached to extend the Israel-Hamas truce in Gaza by an additional 2 days, but it's unknown when the remaining hostages will be released. Meanwhile, in Washington, negotiations continue over aid for Israel as Congress returns to work this week.
We desperately need the supplemental funding that the president asked for.
Some progressives want restrictions on aid, with Senator Bernie Sanders asking for Israel to end what he calls indiscriminate bombing in Gaza before sending more money. Some conservatives want to see changes to immigration policies here at home before sending more foreign aid to allies like Israel and Ukraine. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
The latest this morning from our DC Bureau as we get a closer look into the GOP primary and the immigration policies of the two top candidates, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. Here's Caplin News reporter Alexander Howard.
For many South Floridian immigrants, if Donald Trump regains his seat in the White House or our governor manages to snag the presidential nomination, they worry about how it may affect their personal lives.
Donald Trump is campaigning in Houston today. He's exploring a radical shift in immigration policy if elected in 2024. The former president said mass deportations, an end to birthright citizenship, and ideological screenings are part of his plan. Now, his ideas would impact legal and undocumented migrants.
We also need to remove the incentives to come illegally to begin with, and that means employment. That means taxpayer-financed benefit. It also means this idea that you can come across the border 2 days later, have a child, and somehow that's an American citizen.
Born in Peru and immigrated to the United States at 3 years old, Diego Dulanto Falcon is a beneficiary of the 2012 Obama administration immigration policy, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and is one of the more than 24,000 in the state of Florida. To this day, it defines his everyday life, from how he can afford a master's degree to applying for a job. But he says that the immigration policies from presidential candidates who he says are outright anti-immigrant worry him for the next generation of undocumented immigrants.
It's nothing new. This was happening back in 2016 when Trump took office, and even before that. You know, Trump and DeSantis have always been anti-immigrant, very anti-undocumented. It makes me angry. You know, like I said, I'm tired of feeling anxious and fearful, so I'm not afraid anymore. But it definitely makes me angry and upset for what could happen for the rest of my community who doesn't have the privilege to not be afraid anymore.
Mayumi Kanashiro is also an immigrant from Peru. She was raised there and came to the U.S. at 12 years old, and she says having a higher education here has given her many opportunities to give back to her community.
When you are in higher education, kind of stop seeing the world through your little bubble. You kind of get out of your bubble and you see other communities. What pushed me to join Florida Student Power was my eagerness to learn more about the political climate of the US. It kind of opened my eyes to knowing that it is important for youth to get together and to talk about politics and the politics that we would like to see in the future, in our future.
Florida Student Power is a nonprofit organization that helps youth become more civically involved in their communities, especially those communities who are negatively impacted by politics, including immigrants.
I really encourage everybody listening to get connected to community organizations working in your community and thinking about how we are showing up to build that reality, whether it's voting, right, regardless, and in whichever way you're voting, but being engaged, right, and also asking questions and being part of the conversation when these moments are happening, and asking ourselves how we want to show up for the healing of our broader world.
For now, Donald Trump is leading in the GOP polls, and some polling is predicting he may secure a win against President Biden if he gains a nomination for his party. And from the immigrants I've spoken to, they believe voting is a way to see change.
A white police officer is back on the job this morning, 4 years after the death of an unarmed black man. Nathan Woodward has been reinstated back to the Aurora Police Department near Denver. After an encounter with police, 23-year-old Elijah McClain died on the way to the hospital. Back in 2019, earlier this month, Officer Woodward was acquitted of his role in the death. He is currently on restricted duty.
The pets known as a man's best friend have some new friends this morning after an initiative to help the homeless. Dr. Quayne Stewart is known as the street vet in Los Angeles. He has been providing the pets of the homeless people with free medical services for nearly 12 years. Yesterday, he opened up a first-of-its-kind food pantry stocked with dog and cat food.
These pets, a lot of these people are their family members. It's really their only source of companionship and love and purpose.
The pantry is located in the neighborhood known as Skid Row and is open at all hours.
Your wallet is getting some holiday love at the pumps this season. Gas prices have been falling for 60 straight days, according to AAA. The current national average of regular gas is down 27 cents and stands at $3.25 a gallon. The Florida average for regular gas is 3 cents and 1 cent. The Panthers pouring in 5 goals as they try to get a win on the road.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
And we get shut down, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
A big-name director finished one of the movies with enough extra footage to create a limited series out of his leftovers. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
Radcliffe Art and Design Incubator is the velocity accompanying the fellow's rudder, as in a boat. Unless there is movement or action, the planned direction is of little consequence. We encourage the creative ideas into action, and from the experience of doing, we critically assess the feedback, adjust, and set out to rediscover the potentialities of an entrepreneurial mindset.
STEM is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
What's old is new again as a show premieres with performances from 15 years ago. Don't call it director's cut. Baz Luhrmann says he has reimagined a 2008 movie starring Nicole Kidman as a limited series for Hulu.
Caplin News' reporter Jasmine Moncada takes a closer look into Faraway Downs.
My husband was killed in a faraway land.
If the new Hulu series Faraway Downs looks familiar, it should. Baz Luhrmann has reworked his epic movie Australia after an unintentional nudge from Tom Hanks.
I was doing Elvis, and Tom Hanks gets COVID, quite famously, and we get shut down, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
The two-time Oscar nominee decided to take another look at his 2008 film starring Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman, and young Brandon Walters.
I mean, we shot 2.5 million feet of footage.
Crikey. When you first come to this land, you look, but you not see. Now, you get your eyes open for the first time.
The result is a 6-episode movie in chapters, as Luhrmann likes to call it.
Get off my property!
My idea was to make a big sweeping, go on the wind like epic, but to flip it over, tell it from an Indigenous First Nations point of view, from this young Aboriginal boy's point of view.
Luhrmann is eager to emphasize this is not a director's cut of Australia.
Artists I've worked with on the new music and the graphics, but also some actual plot.
I'm Jasmine Moncada reporting.
Matthew Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers start their Canada trip strong with a big win against his own brother, Brady Tkachuk, and the Ottawa Senators. It was a tension-filled game as both teams combined for 167 penalty minutes. There was one point where the referee gave game misconduct to every player on the ice after a huge brawl between both teams. This could have been due to the fact that the Panthers goalie Sergei Bobrovsky shut out the Senators with 20 saves and the Cats scored 5 on them. The final score was Panthers 5, Ottawa 0. The Panthers continued their Canada tour facing the Toronto Maple Leafs today at 7. Stick around, you're watching Newsbreak, and we're coming right back.
See us dream. See us remember. See us protest.
You matter. Your feelings matter. Your identity matters. Everything about who you are matters.
See us fight back. See us rebuild. See us shatter stereotypes. See us inspire. See us united. See us now.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Samantha Gutierrez.
And I'm Julian Davis. Get more news anytime at caplinnews.fiu.edu.